Good afternoon. Thank you for joining our webinar today on finding undiscovered prospects via LinkedIn lead generation tools. Today's session is all about optimizing professional networking for B2B sales and marketing professionals. Today's webinar is being recorded, so if you would like to review any of the information shared today, a copy of the recording will be made available after the fact, so you'll be able to go through anything that we cover today, again, if you need that refresher. And as we go about today's presentation, please take advantage of the chat box to go ahead and submit questions throughout the webinar that we'll address at the end of today's presentation. So you have the opportunity that when you think of the question to go ahead and submit it so that you don't forget what you wanted to ask. Before we dig too deeply into actually finding those undiscovered prospects and using LinkedIn, I'd like to first introduce you to Goldstein Group via our LinkedIn page. Goldstein Group Communications is a full-service marketing agency, and we solve the toughest problems that are known to B2B marketers, and one of those problems is drawing that straight ROI line from marketing to sales. We do this by improving the sales and marketing funnel in various ways that actually drive down the cost of marketing. And our high-impact branding and lead generation programs are specifically designed for technical B2B companies who are seeking more powerful ways to find, keep, and connect with their customers. A little bit about myself and my LinkedIn profile. I'm Rachel Kerstetter. I'm the communications manager here at Goldstein Group. And I have a decade of experience in helping business-to-business organizations build relationships and tell their stories with customers, communities, and the media. And I'm going to be taking you through LinkedIn today and showing you how it's an effective tool to build relationships and communicate with your customers and your prospects. Today's agenda includes LinkedIn basics, so just going through the very basics of the platform. And if you consider yourself an advanced LinkedIn user, I encourage you to still continue to pay attention and not multitask during this section, because I guarantee you that there will be some information that will be new and that you may be able to use as a way to get LinkedIn incorporated into some of your current efforts. We'll then talk about your profile and your network. And again, if you consider yourself an advanced user, I believe there are nuggets of information in reviewing your profile and expanding your network that are beneficial to pretty much everyone. So definitely stay tuned there. And then we'll be talking about premium services available on LinkedIn that are beneficial to sales and marketing professionals. And we'll help you evaluate the benefits of those services as to whether or not you should be making the investment to incorporate them into your company's efforts. And then we'll talk about marketing opportunities on LinkedIn when it comes to sponsored content, in-mail, video, and how you can reach your target audience with really thoughtful and effective content and really improve your marketing efforts. So let's dig right into the LinkedIn basics. LinkedIn is a professional networking platform. Frequently, it gets lumped in with other social media like Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, but really it's a different animal in that it is strictly professional and that people's profiles are all about their jobs and what they do in that role, as opposed to trying to personally connect with like friends or family. And many professionals are using LinkedIn as their modern day Rolodex to keep up with others in the industry and their professional contacts. And so it's a really valuable tool to keep track of that professional network that you work so hard to build. LinkedIn is not new. It was founded in 2003. It's been around longer than Facebook, and it's growing. There are 675 million LinkedIn users, and prior to coronavirus, about 310 million of them were active on a monthly basis. Since COVID-19, we've been seeing people working more from home and trying to connect online with their colleagues and their contacts, and they're actually turning to platforms like LinkedIn to do this. So that 310 million active users on a monthly basis is probably actually a lot higher, because we're seeing more people logging into the platform and logging in more frequently. So that monthly may be changing to weekly or even daily in some cases. And as a growing platform, about 2 new people are joining LinkedIn every second, and that may not sound like an impressive number. When you think about how long today's webinar is, by the time we finish up, 7,200 people will have joined LinkedIn. So that's pretty significant. And then finally, we're talking about this as a professional networking platform. 60% of LinkedIn users report that they use the platform to look for industry insights. People are logging into LinkedIn on average between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. their local time, Monday through Friday. They are on LinkedIn when they are at work. They're thinking about work when they're on LinkedIn. So this, for a business-to-business professional, is a gold mine of a place to find the people that you want to be connected with and doing business with, while they're actually in a frame of mind to do business and to improve what they're doing with the products or services that you're able to provide. So let's talk about some of the benefits specific to sales and marketing on LinkedIn. Excuse me, 80% of leads generated on social media for business-to-business organizations actually come from LinkedIn. So when you're talking about where you want to spend your time and your money, the investment makes the most sense on social media or LinkedIn. Half of business-to-business buyers are using LinkedIn as a source for making their purchasing decisions. So you want to be including your company and your persona into that platform so that those buyers are considering you as well, and you're able to help drive those purchasing decisions. And then 75% of B2B buyers say that they prefer to work with a recommendation from their professional network. Although not specific to LinkedIn use in general, LinkedIn is where you keep your professional network and where you track your professional network. And it offers the opportunity for you to actually get those recommendations and referrals that in a sales process you know are gold. So this is the place where you actually should be spending the time and putting in those efforts. So let's talk about benefits to you as a professional for using LinkedIn. It's a whole nother avenue to connect. It goes beyond email, and it's separate from phone calls, two areas where most people have so much noise. If your inbox looks anything like mine, you know that it's almost impossible to pay attention to every message that you get. And now, as more people are working from home, it may be harder to get them on the phone as well. So thinking about LinkedIn as another avenue to connect on a human-to-human level is actually a really valuable way. You can also use LinkedIn to research your prospects, get to know who they are before you reach out to them, understand their roles and responsibilities, the things that they're interested in, and what their backgrounds are before you even have that conversation, so that when you go into a conversation with somebody or when you reach out to them, you already are 3 steps ahead because you looked them up. And in that same vein of researching, LinkedIn will help you find the right contacts at your prospective companies. So if you're not entirely sure who you need to talk to, rather than dealing with gatekeepers at a company or navigating phone trees, going on LinkedIn, you can find the people and the roles that you need to be working with and make sure that you're talking to the right people in fairly short order. And I was told that some sales professionals will actually take the last part of their day to go research those prospects or find the right contacts for their calls the next day to make sure that they have that leg up and they've made the notes to be fully prepared to have the following day's sales conversations instead of simply cold calling and trying to muddle around to get to the right contacts. And then LinkedIn is also a very valuable treasure trove of company details. I would argue that you can learn more about a company on their LinkedIn profile then you might be able to learn about them on their website. And this is what I mean, because most companies are using LinkedIn to recruit. They're more likely to put up information about the company's vision, the company's values, their corporate culture, and the way that they do business, because that's something that you would share with a potential new hire, as opposed to maybe on their website where they're trying to sell their own products and services to their customers. So learning company details on LinkedIn can be another valuable way to get involved in what they're doing as well. And then finally, it's a platform for you to build your own personal brand and persona in the market so that you have this presence and that people can get to know you before they even work with you. So let's talk a little bit about some levels of LinkedIn and determine some terminology as we move forward so that you and I are all on the same page. So first, the first level of LinkedIn that I'm going to talk about is your profile. And that's how you or I as a professional use the platform. That's where we share the information about us, about our experience, what we do, how we connect with people. So this is a profile. Next up are pages. And this is how organizations or companies like Goldstein Group or your company Use LinkedIn. This is where we tell our brand story. This is where we share our resources. This is where we try to recruit people, where we update our content, and where we actually are putting all of the things on there that our company needs to be putting out into the platform. So those are pages. And then finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about groups. And so this is just one example of a group. Groups are the forum function on LinkedIn. And I'll talk a little bit more about how you can use them later. But essentially, groups are where people with similar interests, memberships in organizations, people who work in the same industry, actually connect with each other without necessarily being first-degree connections. And this is where people share resources, ask questions, and actually just start to have a conversation the way that you would in a forum. So let's talk first about your profile, how you as an individual are interacting on LinkedIn. So you probably have a profile if you're on this webinar. If you don't, you should probably create one. If you do have a profile, chances are it's out of date in at least 1 or 2 sections, if not more, and it probably needs to be rehabbed. So these are the things that you should take a look at your profile and do. First, make sure that you have a photo of you. It does not have to be a full-fledged professional headshot, but it does need to be a picture of what you look like now. So real quick, profiles that have photos get 9 times more connection requests than profiles that don't. They get 21 times more views and 36 times more messages. So if you want people to really be connecting with you on LinkedIn, you need to have a photo. And you also need to have a good photo. On the right here are examples of photos that I have seen on LinkedIn. People who just don't have one altogether, but then people who will put their child or their pet or even a wedding photo on LinkedIn. And these types of photos may be fun for Facebook or Instagram, but they are not the best type of photo to have on your LinkedIn profile. Your LinkedIn profile photo should be a picture of you looking like you do today, so that when a prospect meets you in person for the first time, after having interacted with you on LinkedIn, they feel like they know you. And that's just the basic bottom line. Make sure it's current and it looks like you. And it's reasonably professional. I advise that don't include hats, sunglasses, or anything like that in your profile. You want to see your face, you want to see your smile, and actually look like you do and add a little bit of personality. The next thing people look at actually on your profile when they look at you for the first time is your headline. And most headlines are defaulted to your current job title and the company that you work for. And as a sales or marketing professional, this is not the most valuable way to use this space. Take advantage of your 120 characters to say your value proposition. You don't have to include your company here because it's all over the rest of your LinkedIn profile. So use your 120 characters in your headline to describe your role and your value. Next up is your contact information. This is the third thing people look at when they look at your profile for the first time. First is your photo, second is your headline, third is your contact information. And contact information is the most often out-of-date part of any LinkedIn profile that I see. Because as people change jobs or roles or move or get new phone numbers, they forget to update. And so oftentimes their contact information is out of date. So go check it out and make sure that you have your company email available, your work phone number available, and your company website. And LinkedIn will let you have multiple websites. So if you work with multiple companies or you have multiple brands that you represent and you want to put a website for each, you can totally do that. Just make sure it's there so that people can connect with you and actually see more about you right there. And then one of the slightly newer features on LinkedIn that people often overlook is this ability to list your services. And when people do notice that they can list services, they often think, oh, that's only for freelancers. Well, that's not true either. Add your services that you can provide through your company. So for me, since Goldstein Group, I do public relations, social media, and content primarily, I have these services on my profile. That if somebody is looking for a service provider for PR, social media, content marketing, writing, technical writing, editing, and blogging, they can contact me and I can get them hooked up with Goldstein Group and what we can do for them. And then also add details to your profile. So the rest of this is more in the body of your profile. And so the about section, or what used to be the summary, is where you really get the chance to tell your story. And so you've got a lot more room. This is where you can put your elevator pitch about yourself, your philosophy. This is where you can unify your experience and kind of tell your story. So take advantage of that about section to be able to talk through your experience and hit those keywords as to who you are as a professional, what industries you work with, what your philosophy is, how you solve problems, how you're a resource. Explain that information right there. And then take a look at your experience section. And this is the part that most people just default to copying and pasting from the most recent version of their resume, or leaving it just as job title and company and dates, and that's it. And that's really boring and doesn't really tell the story or convince anybody to work with you. So take a look at each role, specifically your current role, but each role that you're in, and think about what your prospects would want to know about your experience there. And so go ahead and fill that part out from their perspective. What makes you the person and how that experience is going to be valuable to a prospective customer. And then in that section, if you want to be really advanced, make sure you add some media. If you've got a company video, if you've got some projects that you've worked on that you're really proud of, you can add links and images and things like that into your profile as well that just really stand out when somebody is skimming over about you. But if the rest of the content isn't there, then you should focus on the description area first and then maybe add media later. And then finally, fill out what I call the other things. Make sure that you list your schools that you've been to, your organizations that you're a member of, volunteer work that you've done, causes that you support, awards that you've won, publications you've been in, list your skills. Go ahead and put all of those things in there. And what they do is they really position you as a well-rounded professional, but then they also give people an opportunity to find more things in common with you. And as people find common ground, it's really one more step in that relationship building process that's going to be valuable that you don't even have to work all that hard to do, because they'll see it right there and, oh, you support Habitat for Humanity. I loved my experience in helping build a house. Those sorts of things actually build that human level connection to build those relationships. So let's take your profile that is now perfectly up to date and you've got all of your information and you're ready to go. Now you need to build your network. So if you don't already have most of your contacts in your LinkedIn network, you need to start adding them. You can go through and search names of people that you think you need to be connected with, and that could take a while. But you can also just upload your address book. LinkedIn will connect with Outlook or Gmail or some other email service providers and actually go through your address book and tell you which email addresses have a LinkedIn account tied to them. You can also upload a CSV file and it'll do a search from there. But before you actually add those connections, make sure that you always customize your connection request. So when you click connect, LinkedIn pops up with this little box that you see on the screen that says you can customize this invitation. And they are not kidding when they say that LinkedIn members are more likely to accept connection requests that include a personal note. So click that add a note button. And here is what you're going to write in your note. Because just saying, I want to join your LinkedIn network is lame, and it doesn't tell anybody about you. What you need to take advantage of in that note functionality is context. You need to tell the person how they know you, because chances are they've probably forgotten. We all love to be memorable, but especially if you met somebody at a trade show or some other event where they probably met a lot of other people, you're not necessarily going to stand out in their mind until you jog their memory. So saying that we met at PAC Expo, or we met through XYZ colleague, or we're both a member of this professional organization, or we used to work together at this company, those sorts of things will actually ensure that people remember you or know that they have a connection with you to actually accept that request. And then that also serves as your first message. So if you did meet them at an event and you were talking about something specific, remind them of that too, because then after they accept your connection request, that's their first message with that person. And if they don't respond, it's a good way for you to respond and say, hey, thanks for connecting with me. I loved talking with you about your marketing needs when we met at Pack Expo. I'd love to talk more about what's going on and what's new in your life. And that actually will then prompt them to respond to you as well, and it starts a conversation. So go ahead and add those people, the people that you know. But your network is not just the people that you are connected with, it's also the companies and the people that you follow. And you start getting an influx of that information from the people that you're connected with, from the companies you follow, and from the people you follow in your home feed, so that when you log into LinkedIn, you have some really cool information right there in front of you. So go, and if you're not already following your own company, do that first. And then follow your customers and your prospects companies, follow your vendors and your partners companies, or anybody that you're connected with. So if you work with trade media on a regular basis, go follow them too. And start seeing what they're posting and really get your finger on the tap of the industry that you're in, and get to know what the companies you're targeting are talking about and doing, so that you have information before you talk with them. Then you also want to follow influential people in the industries that you work in. These are people that you may not necessarily know, but that they would be the keynote speakers at conferences, that they would be the ones that are providing trainings and webinars that your customers would be involved in. Get to know what they're saying, because they have influence over the thoughts, opinions, and habits of your target audience. And they also provide maybe a good way in the comment section to connect and showcase your own intelligence and connection to the industries as a resource. And then go make some new contacts on LinkedIn. And we'll talk about that next. And that's actually how you can expand your network even more, especially if you're not meeting new people in person right now. Expanding on LinkedIn is a really valuable option, and you do that by simply joining the conversation. So first, to join the LinkedIn conversation, the easiest way to do that is to simply log in and look at your home feed, as well as look at your notifications from LinkedIn. So over here on the right is an example of my notifications tab on one day. You can see that one of my connections had a new job, got a new position, and LinkedIn is actually prompting me to say congratulations to her. Another one of my connections was celebrating a birthday. I can simply say happy birthday. And by clicking those buttons, it would actually open up a message to that person that then you can customize to the issue. So if it's a work anniversary, new position, promotion, birthday, anything like that, it's actually super easy to connect with them and actually start a conversation that way. But then also, Julie here shared a post that may be interesting to me, and I could go check out the link that she shared and then go comment on her post as well and get involved in that. So LinkedIn makes it easy with your notifications as well as just your home feed. But then you can start participating in LinkedIn in other ways with people that you're not already connected to. And that's where functions like groups that I mentioned earlier come in. So if you work, for example, in the processing industry, go do a LinkedIn search for groups related to processing and join the ones that are going to be relevant. Every group has its own rules and purpose, and that'll actually share with you what you want to do and what the goal of the group is and how people should be using it. But in general, it's people that have similar needs, similar interests, similar roles, and where they actually share information and are looking to get something out of their group membership. And one of the super valuable ways that groups can help you make new connections is that you can actually send direct private messages to other group members from the group, even if you're not connected with them. And one of the other ways to be part of the conversation on LinkedIn is actually to send messages to people. And I keep saying sending messages. And when I talk about messages, I'm talking about the direct messaging function on LinkedIn. A lot of people call them LinkedIn emails. And this is a private one-to-one conversation that you can have with people who are first-degree connections, as well as people who you're in a shared group with. This is maybe a little bit less of public communication, and it can be a valuable way to continue a conversation or refer back to something that maybe you were talking about in your group. But then also similar to groups are hashtags, and they're real quick explanation of what a hashtag is, if you don't know, is it's the pound or hash symbol in front of a word or phrase that doesn't have any spaces or characters. It's only letters and numbers. And what this does is putting that pound sign right in front will aggregate all of the topics into one place on the platform that have that tag. And it creates a hyperlink automatically in post. So for example, I'm showing you the hashtag for B2B marketing. And LinkedIn lets you actually follow the hashtag so that you can actually see anything that's tagged with B2B marketing. And you can see that this particular hashtag has nearly 26,000 followers. And so following and interacting in the conversation on hashtags is also very valuable. You don't quite have the private messaging functionality that you have in groups, but it's a really good way to amplify and get in front of people who are talking about what you're interested in or trying to learn about what you're publishing on. So you can follow and interact with them, but then you should also be using them in your post. And it's as simple as writing your post and then typing in that pound sign and, in this example, B2B marketing. And you can use multiple hashtags in a post, just don't hashtag spam. So for example, Kyle shared a post that actually had a link to a resource that he thought was valuable about blogging for business. And he thought that this would be valuable to people who are interested in content marketing, B2C marketing, B2B marketing, and social media marketing. So he used all of those hashtags. Maybe only need one hashtag per post, and that's fine. There are a ton of options. So if you're looking to consume some new content or to get involved in some conversations, do a search for hashtags that are relevant to you and what your interests and expertise are. And then also when joining the conversation, hashtags, groups, interacting with your network and using messages are kind of ways that you can consume and show yourself as a participant, but then also you can publish. So write your own posts on LinkedIn. And when I'm talking about posts, I'm talking about maybe sharing a link, a video, an image that was interesting, and then sharing maybe a few sentences about it or a few thoughts. I'm not specifically talking about publishing articles, which you can also do on LinkedIn. If you really are an advanced LinkedIn user and you want to establish yourself as a thought leader, there may be the option to be writing articles, but they need to be well thought out, timely, related to trends. And I always advise my clients first that if one of your people is thinking about publishing something article-wise on LinkedIn, that maybe they need to go talk to the blog manager at your company first to see if it would be a really relevant topic for your company blog that can then be used elsewhere and shared as a post on LinkedIn as opposed to published there. And then share company updates. So the marketing people at your company, if you're not one of them, are hard at work putting information and resources on your LinkedIn page. And one of the best things that you can do is participate with them and share those posts. So for example, this is one of Goldstein Group's. We had a resource on boosting website quote volume. And all I would need to do is hit that little share button and it would pop up with ways that I could share the post, whether I could share it to just my network, whether I could share it publicly. I could share it to my network and Twitter since I have them connected. I could share it in a message or in a group, but share that information. And most of the time I say go ahead and share it publicly, because then if somebody's not connected with you, they see the types of resources that you share as well. But you can also then mention people or companies by name in your posts and by tagging them. And a simple way to tag on most social media, but specifically on LinkedIn, is you type that @ symbol and then you start typing either the person or the company name. And the reason I say to do this is if it's, be judicious about it. Don't just tag every connection you have. But if it's something that you were talking about recently, refer back to it in a public manner. Or if it's sharing a post from your company about something that you and a teammate worked on together, mention them there too. This is a good way to actually show people that you're thinking about them, because it sends them a notification that they've been tagged. So you've got your network set together, you're growing it, you're joining the conversation, you're being active as a professional. One way to further step up your LinkedIn efforts is to subscribe to a LinkedIn premium service. So I'm not going to talk about all of the premium services that LinkedIn offers, because there are a variety of them. But LinkedIn offers services for people who are looking for jobs as well as looking to hire. And we're not going to talk about those today, but if those are things that you as a person are interested in, I highly recommend that you do a little bit more research into it and reach out to LinkedIn to get started on those. But I am going to talk about LinkedIn Premium for Business as well as LinkedIn Sales Solutions. Those are the areas where LinkedIn offers premium services that are definitely valuable to sales or marketing professionals. So LinkedIn Premium for Business is the first one I'm going to talk about. And I'm not going too in-depth on this, but there are just some benefits that it offers to people who are looking to grow their business. So it's not specifically sales. If you're looking to find investors, to engage with other companies, to grow partnerships, these are all options that LinkedIn Premium makes it a little bit easier. So some of the benefits of signing up for a premium service on LinkedIn include that you get monthly in-mail. And this means that you can send a direct private message to somebody who's not a connection or that you're not in a group with. So if you're really trying to reach a specific person, you get one of those messages per month. So LinkedIn messages in general have a 10 times higher open rate than regular emails. So in-mail can be a valuable avenue to connect with them. This premium service also offers more company insights, specifically about growth areas and breakdown in employee experiences and backgrounds. So you can kind of get to know where people are coming from when they work at one of your prospects. And you can also see where they're adding staff and what areas where they're growing. But then you also have some additional resources in what you can see about companies than what you might have with a traditional free LinkedIn profile. And then premium offers kind of a cool benefit that, if you're nosy, is really very helpful. So if you have a regular profile on LinkedIn and you don't subscribe to a premium service, if you view other people's profiles, they can see that you viewed them, unless you view anonymously, and then you can't see who's viewed your profile because it's very reciprocal. Whereas LinkedIn Premium says, okay, if you want to stay anonymous, we'll still let you see who's viewed your profile. And so how is this valuable to you as a professional? Specifically, if you're working in sales, this who's viewed your profile is kind of a valuable feature because you can start to see if somebody is interacting with you or checking you out before they make contact or respond to any of your outreach. It can also help you see if you've been passed along from your original contact to somebody else, and if maybe you need to redirect your communication efforts to another person at the organization, just by seeing if they or have looked at your profile or somebody else from the company has looked at your profile. And then, of course, LinkedIn Premium offers unlimited browsing. So the search for just traditional non-premium LinkedIn is fairly robust, but LinkedIn Premium kicks it up several notches, and that you can really get granular in your searches. You can see a lot more information. You can really just, it takes away the limits to help you find new prospects faster and get to know companies and professionals. So it is an investment. It's a subscription service that starts at about $48 per month. I don't make any commissions on LinkedIn. If you sign up for premium, it doesn't matter to me. But if it's something that you ever get a chance to do a free trial of LinkedIn Premium, I highly recommend you check it out and actually exercise the benefits that it provides. And LinkedIn will actually give you a tutorial on what you can do with LinkedIn Premium to determine if it's something that you want to keep moving forward to actually help grow your business. So next up are sales-specific solutions. And although they're sales solutions, often known as Sales Navigator on LinkedIn, they can be valuable to marketing people as well. So there are a variety of features and different levels of LinkedIn Sales Navigator and way more content than I can go into today. But I will let you know that if you have a sales team of 10 or more people, it can be a valuable investment, especially if they're super active and are looking to uncover new leads and keep everything very organized. So if Smile and Dial is not working, LinkedIn Premium or LinkedIn Sales Solutions may be a better route for you to go. So you can see on the screen, I don't expect you to read everything, a variety of features of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Additional in-mail, your ability to save varying numbers of leads in there. So you can actually, when you have Sales Navigator, you can enter your leads and accounts in there, and LinkedIn will create a new homepage for you that's specifically your Sales Nav homepage. It will specifically show you all the information about your leads and accounts in LinkedIn, the ones that you want to be going after, so that you can actually just plug into their information first. And you may not care about what your cousin's doing or what your former boss is doing, but the people that you want to connect with and the people that you're trying to reach in a sales capacity, you're seeing their stuff. But then LinkedIn will actually take what it knows and what you feed it and start recommending leads to you if you have this service. But one of the other major benefits, if you're going to be using LinkedIn for sales, is that Sales Navigator offers CRM integration so that you don't have to go and manually log everything that you're doing. You can sync your tags and notes across accounts and leads from LinkedIn and track your activities there. It'll also integrate with Outlook so that you can work through Outlook. The integrations for Sales Navigator are probably one of the most valuable parts of it. If you're a Salesforce user, a HubSpot CRM user, a Dynamics user, these integrate seamlessly for you and actually can help your team be more effective. And if you are a sales leader, you can actually track your team's efforts and you can actually track what they're doing. So one of the really cool features of LinkedIn is called Smart Links. And we call them presentations at some point, but they're not always presentations. Sometimes they're brochures. Sometimes they're pieces of content that you're sharing. They can be quotes. They can be in-depth information. These things that you can actually send, you can build through LinkedIn Smart Links, and it'll actually track them for you. So you could send them via InMail or a direct message if you're connected. Or you could even send them via regular email, and LinkedIn will actually show you when the person you sent it to opened it, how long they looked at it, and then if they forwarded it to somebody else who opened it, you'll get to see who that person is as well. And you can actually start to see kind of what approaches have been valuable. So sales leadership can use that to see what's working and not working and either train or change their team's activities. And then of course there's a variety of reporting functionalities that can be valuable. This is an investment in the very lowest level, starts at $65 per month and goes up from there per person. If it's something that you think would be really valuable, I highly recommend doing a demo and working with the LinkedIn Sales Navigator team to be able to actually understand the tool and see how it would function specifically for you. And if that's something that you're not sure how to go about setting up, that's something that we at GGC, Goldstein Group, do for our clients, is we've helped many of them get started with Sales Navigator to help amp up their sales efforts. A lot of these features are also valuable to marketing professionals in just different ways. So if you've got the seats and you want the room and you want to be able to actually do some of that, sponsored marketing alerts are a valuable tool for marketers because you can actually start seeing when your specific leads or accounts are interacting with your marketing efforts. Speaking of marketing efforts, let's talk about how you can market on LinkedIn. This is the part, we've talked a lot about sales. We've talked about ways that salespeople can research and build relationships. Let's talk about how you can build your marketing. LinkedIn is a marketer's dream. It offers relevant prospects who are looking for purchasing information and industry insights that you and your company can provide to them. All in one place. Thinking about work for business-to-business marketing, this is a dream. So let's hit a couple of these stats again, just as a refresher. 80% of leads generated on social media for business-to-business come from LinkedIn. So in terms of time spent on a platform for social media, LinkedIn makes sense. And in terms of marketing dollars, LinkedIn is not expensive to do advertising on the platform. So working it in there makes the most sense to allocate budget for LinkedIn marketing. Half of your business-to-business buyers use LinkedIn as a source for making purchasing decisions. LinkedIn marketing is one way to get in front of them. This is a really, really good way to get in front of them actually and start equipping them with content that they need to do their jobs better and make smarter choices. So how exactly does it work? Why am I talking about LinkedIn marketing being a good way for B2B companies to really up their game? Well, here's the ins and outs. LinkedIn is specifically objective-based advertising. So if you're looking to do sponsored campaigns on LinkedIn, anything that you do starts with your objective. LinkedIn actually walks you through it. It's fairly handy and intuitive. What is your goal? Are you looking to generate leads? Do you want to grow brand awareness? Or are you simply trying to get more views on your new video? Putting in your objectives at the very beginning will actually guide your program. So think about what you want to do. And then it has hyper-targeting functionalities. Think about all of the information that you as an individual give to LinkedIn. All of your past companies, your current company, your job title, your responsibilities, your interests, the groups that you're involved in. All of this information is stored in LinkedIn, and that helps them serve up valuable ads to the right people at the right time. And so that hyper-targeting is really a flexible thing for you as well. So you can build your audience for your marketing efforts off of your marketing personas, just based on job titles, responsibilities, types of companies, industries that they work in, and you can go from there. Or you can target off of maybe your top prospect list. Chances are you know the companies that you want to be working with and you have a list of them. You can directly go after those companies and the decision makers there. You can also either take an exact list and match it. So if you already know the prospects or the contacts at the companies you want to work with, you can match it on LinkedIn and just market directly to those people. Or you can build a lookalike list off of your current customers to start reaching people that look like your ideal audience that you're already working with. And then LinkedIn offers flexible formats. We'll talk a little bit more about this later, but basically whatever your content is that you're putting out onto LinkedIn, there's a format that's going to make it look great. And there is a vehicle to get it in the right spot. So flexible formats is actually a really, really valuable thing that you can integrate in there. If it's a video, if you've got some really good imagery, if you don't have any images at all, if you're trying to have some more personal connections, maybe you want to do a message instead. And then LinkedIn marketing is really, really good at being integrated into your marketing platforms. So just like Sales Navigator will integrate with HubSpot CRM or Salesforce CRM, you can integrate LinkedIn marketing with your marketing automation software. So at Goldstein Group, again, we're a HubSpot agency, and it integrates flawlessly that we can actually launch LinkedIn campaigns from our HubSpot, or we can launch them from LinkedIn, and it will integrate seamlessly with our other HubSpot campaigns, and it'll actually direct lead flow to where we want them to go for nurturing campaigns. It'll track all of those against our other marketing efforts for us instead of having to do a lot of building and comparison and reporting on our end. So that integration is super valuable and saves a lot of time for those of us on the marketing side who are very pressed for time. That's definitely a value. But then there's also quick wins. So when I say quick wins, they're very quick, easy things that you can do with LinkedIn marketing that just make it more valuable. So for example, if you have a piece of content or a post on LinkedIn that's getting some good organic traffic from your page followers, where you're like, hey, I want to get this to a broader audience, you can just do quick sponsored posts right there from that piece of content. But then you can also, if you're doing a lead gen campaign, you can take advantage of their lead gen forms where it'll autofill anybody's information that clicks on the form so that it shortens from interest to download of whatever piece of content. So it shortens the process so that you lose fewer people than trying to send them off LinkedIn to a landing page that has a form that they have to fill out and then click submit. Whereas if they see your ad and they're interested in your content, they can click, the form pops up and their information is already on it, and all they have to do is submit it, and then you get their information and they get the piece of content that they were interested in or whatever you were advertising right away. So it takes a lot fewer clicks and a lot less effort on your prospect side to get them into your marketing funnel. So how does it work? I'm just going to take you through the process for building a LinkedIn campaign really quickly so you can see some of these things I was just talking about. Like I said, it's objective-based. So you start with your objective, so you select the objective that best fits your goals. So first, is it awareness? Is it consideration? Is it conversions? What do you want to do? So when you click each one, LinkedIn then adjusts what you can do to help you reach that specific goal. Because if you're looking to generate leads, LinkedIn's not necessarily going to focus on just getting awareness for you. They're going to focus on getting you those names and email addresses that you want in your lead funnel. Next up is then targeting, that hyper-targeting capability. The tool is pretty intuitive. for building based on your personas, but then you can take those matched audiences that I talked about before, and you can build your audience. LinkedIn also has some stock audiences already set. Most of the time for our B2B efforts, they don't make sense, but if you are looking for specific audiences off of a list, you can also check out what LinkedIn has already built. And then you pick your ad format. And these are not all of the ad formats. These are the ones that popped up when I hit that I wanted a website visit campaign, that my objective is just getting more visits to my site. So these are the different options that you have for that type of campaign. And it'll change based on the different types of things that you're trying to do. And then you set your budget and your schedule. You can do daily, you can do lifetime budgets. You can change your budgets throughout the programs as well. So if you want to add more marketing dollars behind it or shift things around, that is an option. And then you set your schedule. You can just start date and run it indefinitely until you use up your budget, or you can set a start and end date to really have a targeted timing. And then you pick your bid type. LinkedIn automated bidding is excellent. I highly recommend you use it, but you can also then control what types of bids you want anyway. Next up is then just creating your ad. It's fairly easy to build the ad, and then if you are doing a lead gen campaign, you can build your form off of that as well. And then you launch your campaign. But before you launch your campaign, the LinkedIn tool really helps you see what you're going to be doing audience-wise. So you can see, for this particular audience that I had built for a web visit campaign, we're looking at about 220,000 potential LinkedIn users that we could be reaching, and it projects what kind of spend it can use. I gave it a $500 budget, and it said, well, we could probably use all $500 of it, or we might only use $340, but here's what you can expect for impressions, click-through rates, and then really the key results. So if you're looking for conversions, if you're looking for lead gen, that's what your key result is going to be. I just wanted web visits, and this is what LinkedIn thought it could get me in 30 days for $500 for the people that I targeted. So when should you use LinkedIn marketing? Consider adding a LinkedIn ad component to your content amplification to get your content in front of more people that you want to be in front of. Incorporate it into your general lead gen efforts. Take advantage of the lead gen tools that LinkedIn offers. You can incorporate it into your product launches to gain more visibility for your new products or services. You can work it into your account-based marketing campaigns, or ABM. If you're not familiar with ABM, that's where you take your top targeted accounts and you tailor a whole campaign just to those top accounts. And LinkedIn makes it really easy to target them, so it should be part of your ABM efforts if you are doing ABM. And then add it to your other integrated campaigns. There's a component and an audience there on LinkedIn if you're in business to business for what you're trying to put out there. And then, of course, recruiting. LinkedIn is a great platform for recruiting. And you can actually boost your job postings to start getting really qualified candidates and get in front of the people that you want to hire. So I'm going to take questions here in just a moment, but first I wanted to encourage you, if you are looking to add LinkedIn to your marketing program, get more information on how to amp up your own LinkedIn or get training for your team on LinkedIn, these are services that we'd be happy to help you with. Please feel free to contact us. And you can also plug into our other resources that we offer by visiting ggcom.com. That's ggcom with 2 M's.com, and just drop us a line or send us a signal and let us know what you're thinking and what you need. And feel free to then ask some of the questions that you need to actually do LinkedIn the way that you can to help reach those prospects and build those relationships.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take some questions now. I see we have a couple already in the question box. So the first one here is, do you recommend the use of showcase pages? And that's a really good question. And I guess I would have to say it depends. So unlike a LinkedIn page, a showcase page is almost like an add-on. They're designed specifically to spotlight individual brands, business units, or initiatives. And so once you create them, they show up as affiliated pages under your own page. And the reason I say it depends is it really is a structure and branding question that you have to ask internally on your marketing team. Is there a separate audience? So if you have a product that has its own branding, where people would recognize the product name as opposed to your company name, then it's probably showcase page worthy. But if you would be fractioning your audience and not really getting much of a following on that particular showcase page, then maybe you just want to highlight that that particular brand or unit. But for larger companies that have several business units, showcase pages can be an easier way to reach the specific audiences for each unit. So for example, if you've got a business that is catering to both an industrial audience and a technology audience, maybe a showcase page for each of those audiences or product lines in those audiences makes sense. So definitely go through the exercise of who's our audience for this page, what is our brand recognition, and I apologize, some people may have lost audio, so hold on just a second, let me see if I can change that. All right, hopefully we have some audio back. I apologize if you just stopped seeing the screen, but hopefully that'll help. Real quick, I was actually answering the question on showcase pages. And so that question is more or less, should I use them for my brand? And I think that the answers to that is if you have the separate brand or business unit that needs its own visibility, then showcase pages make sense. Another question that we got is, I think I'm following some hashtags, but where can I see them if I'm following them? And that's more or less a navigation question. So if you're in LinkedIn and you log in, you can look at the left side of your page and you'll see, usually you see a little snippet of yourself. If you manage pages, you'll see those underneath. And then below that is where you'd see the hashtags you're following, the groups that you're involved in, and the pages or groups that you recently were. All right, next question. Do you have to be connected to a company before you mention them via the @company name? That's a really good question. I'm going to get you an answer to that right now. No, you do not. You can just simply hit @ and type in the company name. So one of the things that may be a challenge there is if you commonly know them as a company that just starts with their name. So let's take Goldstein Group as an example. If we were the Goldstein Group Communications, but everybody just knew us as Goldstein Group and they went to type in Goldstein Group, it may not pull in. But yeah, as you start typing after that @ symbol, you will get your options pop up and just select the one that you want to mention. Okay, so this is a good one. I got a voicemail on LinkedIn. How do I do that if I want to send them to other people? So LinkedIn voicemail is actually an audio message that you can send via the LinkedIn mobile app. And so what you would have to do is you would have to be on your mobile device. And if you go into messaging and you want to send a message to somebody, you would compose a new message and just hit the microphone button and record your message the way that you would want to record it. And I really caution if this is something that you want to do, not to get too wordy and too salesy. But if you are more of a phone person than an email person, or people are used to talking with you verbally, then it's definitely a way to kind of reach out and make a personal connection, but you absolutely have to do it for mobile. You cannot do that from desktop. All right. How can I get more business introductions on LinkedIn? How do I go about doing that? So when I was talking about referrals earlier and using your network to leverage expanding and meeting new people, one of the ways to do that is by getting other people to recommend you or to make introductions. So if you know who you want to reach, so for example, you're looking at their profile and you see that you have a connection in common with them, that's the way that you can actually start to ask for an introduction. So if I wanted to speak with somebody at a specific company and I saw that a former colleague of mine and I were shared connection, I would actually reach out to that person and say, hey, I saw that you know this person. Would you be willing to make an introduction? I think that we have a lot in common. And it's kind of like asking to get set up on a business date, essentially. And then it really is, when you're asking for those recommendations, make sure that you're asking somebody who actually knows you to make that recommendation for you. So that's one way that you can actually then leverage a personal connection to get to know somebody else via LinkedIn and to get that introduction. All right, we have just a couple more minutes, so I am going to answer maybe a few more questions. How many hashtags is too many for a post? I would say that there's kind of a bit of personal judgment that goes into which hashtags to use on a post, and I would encourage you not to do too many. So if it looks like you wrote a whole paragraph of hashtags, it's probably too many. But it can be, sometimes one hashtag will do it, but sometimes in the example that I showed earlier, it may cross some interests. And so you may want to add maybe 3 or 5 more to make sure that you're hitting the people that would be of interest. Just make sure that if you're hashtagging something, that it's relevant. So for example, if I am putting a post up for a client about something in the wastewater treatment arena, I'm not going to hashtag anything related to pharmaceutical processing because it's just not relevant. So make sure that the hashtags are relevant that you're using and not too many. If it looks like it's a whole solid paragraph of blue, that's too many, but a handful is totally fine. Should I have a group for my business on LinkedIn versus a page? If you have a company that doesn't have a company page on LinkedIn, you should go ahead and start one, even if you only have 1 employee. So having a company page, I think, is important. Having a group is a little bit less important because you're less likely to get engagement in a group that's specifically about your company. But if there are certain services that you offer, if you've got some sort of inner circle, or if you are related to some sort of trade association, then go ahead and start a group as well and invite relevant people to join it. But I, specifically for, Goldstein Group as the example and all of these things, would not start a group just for Goldstein Group Communications fans. That doesn't make sense. But if we had a business startup incubator, that would be a good group to start. So I think it only makes sense if you already have a group of people that need to be kind of communicating with each other and sharing experiences one-to-one that you maybe are doing on phone calls or email, then maybe a LinkedIn group makes sense. But if you don't already have a page, definitely don't make a group instead of a page. All right, so we are coming up on time here. If you have any other questions, please feel free to submit them, and I'm happy to answer them after the fact. But also feel free to contact us on our website if you have additional questions about LinkedIn. Thank you again for joining us today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you this afternoon and sharing about LinkedIn. And we are, happy to walk you through any other questions that you may have. All right, well, thank you, everybody, and thank you for the nice, encouraging comments I'm getting in the question box now. I appreciate it. I hope this was valuable, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.